Hi guys, welcome to the flight today. As we're in the Airbus A340 version 1.01, there's an update that's been released, and we are ready to make our flight today with the Lufthansa livery down in lovely Frankfurt. We're going to be going to Vienna, as weather isn't very good here in Frankfurt today, so hopefully we should get some better weather. Well, we should get some nice clouds with X-Enviro as we do come down. We're going to be leaving out on the 25 left departure for the City 1 Foxtrot. We're going to be arriving down the Mercer 2 Whiskey, coming down near to Nerdu, which will then bring us in for the approach for runway 16. So don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Support the channel, helps get to that 2k subscriber goal, and we can now get inside the cockpit and start this lovely Airbus up ready for its flight out of Frankfurt for runway 25 left. So let's get into the cockpit and start up. Here we are now in the A340-600, so we're going to do our pre-flight procedures. We get all the batteries on, the APU bat, and we get the external power etc. switched over, get all of our fuel pumps etc. all on and ready to go. Then we can go into the FMC and get the aircraft all programmed ready to leave. So window heats can go on, the master switch for the APU can go on as well. We'll get the APU bleed, which will be ready and set to go. The recorder can go on as well. As we get the beacon on, nav 1 can go on as well, and for the emergency lights to be armed, along with the no smoking and seatbelt signs to on. We'll go overhead now, we'll get the IRSs on as soon as possible so we can get them to align, and now we can get all of our panel lighting all lit up ready to go. So there is 4 lights underneath. There's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Get all the PFD navigational display all on and lit up. So this is what was in the update, as remember the screens were still pre-lit on startup, so we can get everything all in. Floodlights, everything's on and set for us. First officer side can go on as well, and then we can get into the FMC and start the aircraft up ready to go. So that's everything on that front. Now we're going to the FMC, get that all set, turn it up onto bright, go on to the initial. We can go and get the performance up on for the loading, which is everything here, which we was going to leave on. So as we go through the company route, Echo Delta Delta Foxtrot Lima Oscar Whiskey Whiskey 01, which is going in on the company route, which will be inserted. We go to the IRS, we can align on ref and confirm that, which will be set. 2459, we'll put in for the flight number. Passengers are going to be 316. Cost index is going to be 62, and we're going for a flight level of 250. Move on to our block weight. We've got 244.9, 18.4, which also gives us 42.5 on the block, which is checked and set. Leaving out for the flight plan, we're leaving on the departure for the Cindy 1 Foxtrot. We've got 25 left departing. As you can see, the Cindy 1 Foxtrot, we'll get that all put in, we can get it on the flight plan. We use takeoff config 3. On for the perf, we've got 160 for V1, rotates 160 and 164 for V2. Which is all set and checked. Flaps are going to be 3 up, 4.7. And we've got flex temp of 45, which is all in, and that is pretty much our flight already done. So we can see on the restriction we've got the altitude constraint is 800 feet, and we can also see that on the departure as well. We need to wait 800 feet before we turn into that left hand turn, whichever is later. 4.5 from the Foxtrot Frankfurt 1142 and 115 for the Foxtrot Romeo Delta. So whichever one is later, whether we hit 4.5 from the V1 or 800 feet above, we then turn left onto that left hand turn, which is then going to bring us onto the 117, which takes us down to Cindy. So as soon as the IRSs are aligned, guys, we'll come back in. We can take a look at our lovely systems, all of our displays. As we can see, the APU, which is on and firing. We can have a look at our hydronics, lovely displays as we get everything all done. So system, flight controls. So I'll see you guys when the IRSs are fully aligned. The navigational display, which is already and set for us to go. Overhead we've got the APU bleed, which is now running on and set. Got seatbelt signs, which are all on and checked. We can go get the predictive wind shear, which is on auto. We can get the system 1, everything else to auto, and tilt can go up just a little bit. Now, I don't know if the weather will work. There we go. There's some lovely weather right there in the vicinity. And we can see when we leave out as we've got that lovely weather right there. Now it's the first time that I have seen the weather in here since we got it a few days ago, so just basically nice to see some weather for once in the vicinity coming through, ready to go. So we'll just keep on the terrain now for the time being. As we roll 1006, everything is all on and checked, so we'll just go through our pre-start procedures. Then we can run it on through and get the aircraft ready for our departure. So cockpit preparation is complete, gears and pin covers are removed, signs are on, ADS is a nav, fuel quantity is checked, 42.4. Takeoff data is set 160 on V1 and rotate for 164, which is going to be for V2, which we can see 164. Flaps 3 up, 4.7 on the trim, which we can also check to make sure that it is there, 4.7, which should be all good and ready for us to go. So I'm sure that'll all come on once all the hydraulics and everything come into play. And from there, window doors are closed, beacon is on, thrust levels are idle, and parking brake as required. So what we can do is we can call the tug and get ready for us up, ready to go. Everything overhead, lights out, is all fine and checked for us. Got the APU bleed on, and everything is set. Seatbelt signs are on, emergency exit lights are armed, and we are all ready for our departure out. So tug's now going to move up. It's lovely to see that the weather is there today for us as we move in. So as we come down in range and come out, we should be able to get all the weather in as we see that. So that is something nice to see. So the weather radar does work, and we've got X-Enviro in as well, so we know that there is some bumpy weather. It looks pretty clear though out on the departure, sort of like a little valley route. As we come through, we can see we're just going to pass through some turbulence on our departure, and then once we rise up,
okay, all doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect, set parking brake.
Parking brake, which is checked. So we might just run into it, as it seems to be running straight around. We are now all ready and set to go. We can get the engine starter to ignition start. We'll just go over and make sure that we get the third FMC or MCDU all in and checked. We can go and release the parking brake as we are ready to leave.
Starting pushback, and you may start the engine.
Starting engines, we'll now go to engine display on our lower display unit, and we can go and light engine number 3. We'll wait until 10% N2, and then we'll start engine number 4. So there's number 3 coming in, N2's now coming to life. Wait for 10% N2, and then we can go fire up engine number 4, which should be then really nice to see outside for a lovely wind view. There's 5, there's 6, near enough for us. So we'll go in and get engine number 4 in, which should then open up and ignite and be ready for us to come in. So there's engine number 4 as well. And engine number 1 in and fired, and 2 will come to life. We won't wait for 10%, we'll get outside and we'll watch her ignite now. Brake is on and checked. Engine number 1 and 2 are now coming over, N2 is ignited, we can see the oil pressure's up and the PSI is lifted up as well. As we can see, as the engines are starting to warm through, we can go check the hydraulics. So all the hydraulics are now flowing, which is all good for us to see. So the trim wheel should be done now for 4.7, which it is, and checked. So that's pretty nice to see, as it has had an update, which is nice to see, just them little things that have been rectified. So anti-ice is going to be off and checked. ECAM status, which we can check now, is normal. Thrust levels are idle, parking brake is as required. So we can go back over, engine start can go back to normal.
So it's disconnected and
7 now as we're on our taxi, everything is all cleared for us to leave. We've got flex temp 45, shouldn't be 1.223 on the flex. As we ride through, runway turnoffs can go on, which are checked. We've got the beacons on along with our nav. As we make this left-hand turn to make a left onto Lima 9, as we can see over on the departure, we're going to switch over onto Lima 6, which will then bring us down onto a lovely 25 left for the departure route. Set up the takeoff config once we get nearer to the airport. That'll give us something to do just before the departure. So Lima 6 is where we're going to swing in for our departure route. We can get in for a flaps 3. Spoilers can be armed, auto brake can be RTO. Once 3 comes down, we can do the takeoff config test, and it should say takeoff normal. So there's number 3, takeoff config to normal. Can alert the cabin, let them know that we are all ready to go. Cabin is ready. So we are all set to leave. 1006 on the QNH, there's Lima 8. Lima 6 is going to be the second. Which we'll find in just a minute. Take a left onto the runway. Pass over Romeo 3. Then we can line up for 25 left. So we're just about to pass over the hold short line. These are runway turn-off lines, so we can just line up straight from here. As we go over, runway turn-offs can now go on, strobes can go on along with nav 1, which is chat. We can tell the cabin to get ready to go. And we are ready now to line up for 25. Okay, so here we are. We'll put on the parking brake just quickly. So we go down to the cam status and we can get the systems all on. So we've got the DCs, we can see the hydraulics are all on, lovely and good to go. Systems all there, flight controls, full left, full right, full forward, full backwards, rudder left and rudder right. So we see the pitch trims 4.6, we've got 4.7 which is in, a flex temp of 45, and we are ready to go now guys. So we can get on our landing lights, nose to take off, everything else is all on and checked, and we are ready to go. So can release the parking brake, can power on up to 40%, and toga. So, manual flex, SRS, runway, auto thrust blue, and thrust is set. So, full pressure on the column. Looking for 160 on V1 and rotate, so we're going to go on both. 100 knots, neutral on the column. Rotate. Positive rate. Gear up. So we go up into a flaps 2 and we ride around onto that left hand turn. As we follow the flight director out now, as we are going to start to process up from our flaps 1. Moving on from V2, which is from 164. See the flight director come down. We can now go into lever climb as we start to manipulate the controls now, just to maintain on for the flight director. And we keep in onto that left-hand turn as the aircraft does a lovely job of flying. Also trim and everything's all taken care of, which is lovely to see right now, just following the flight director and keeping on track with things as we pass through. So we're coming up now, we're into a flaps 1, wait until we get to our slat retraction speed, which is going to be just over and under 225. Gear is up and off, which is checked. As we break through the clouds, 210 on the max, before we then pass to straighten up onto the 017. That's where we're then going to be able to speed up and start to go into our climb speed. So we're still manually flying the aircraft, maintaining lovely pitch and roll as we maintain the flight director. You can see as well if we've got any weather that's still in the vicinity for us. And then we're going to make a slight right hand turn, pitch down just a little so we can start to go through from our slat retraction speed. Then we'll go into that right hand turn. So that's going to be retracted. As we roll through, that was a lovely controlled departure on the Airbus's front now, just passing 240, and I'm going to let the Airbus now take control with the autopilot. Nav climb and thrust climb is all in, and we've got altitude cruise, which is armed and checked. So if we show you the after takeoff checklist, we've got 5003 QNHs can now go back to a standard, which are checked and cross-checked on either side. As we move through, I don't know why the aircraft wants to bank to the right over on the first officer's PFD, but that one's working pretty nice. Ground spoilers can be disarmed now, which are checked. No smoking. Seatbelt signs can now go auto. We can turn them off after 10,000. Landing lights will go off after 10,000 and will be all checked. So after takeoff, landing gear is up and off, flaps are fully retracted, packs are on, and everything else seems to be all good for us. So we've got the engine anti-ice, which will be on and checked as we pass through and up, and we'll have a look at the plan in just a second. So we'll see if we've got any weather in the vicinity, which we can't see at the moment. But on for the arrival, that is pretty much going to be for us. We're going to come in, and once we move down, we're going to mull through Cindy to Lampu, and then once we get down to Monsieur is where at the start of the descent is going to happen. So there's Monsieur, as we've got flight level 170, which is our altitude constraint, so it's a mandatory altitude constraint. And if we have a look on the arrival as well, we will probably see where Monsieur comes in. So Monsieur is below flight level 170 and above 6,000. So from there to 15,000 to the whiskey, and then roll it through, and we can see that windy left to right on our speed. Nurdu, as we come through 14 to 12, now Nurdu needs to be at 6,000 above, so we're perfectly fine on for the departure. We'll trust the FMC, and that is pretty much our departure out, guys. Passing through 10,000 feet now, we can get the landing lights off, on the nose can go off as well. Passenger signs can relax, and we are all now good to go. So I'm going to leave it with the takeoff cinematics, guys, so don't forget to like and subscribe. Support the channel as we get to our 2,000 subscriber goal. We'll be flying from Heathrow to JFK. So I'll see you guys when we get back into the cockpit for our top of descent. Hi guys, welcome back to the flight deck. As we are currently now on our way near to our top of descent, you can see we are just within around 12 nautical miles on our top of descent, which we are then going to program in for our arrival. Now coming through, we can see that we've got altitude constraint 1704 Monsieur, which is going to be below where we then ride through to 15040 Whiskey, which is then going to bring us down to 144 mandatory to 112 to 1100. And then we're going to start making that descent down. We'll decel down to 248, then come down to 203 as we ride in for the arrival to intercept, and then 203 down. So we are all set there to come in on for the perf for the arrival. We can get the arrival in as we're going to be coming down for 17,000, and then we've got 6,000 above. We're going to intercept 5,000 feet, so put 5,000 feet, which can go in and checked. Over on the PFD, we're all set to come in for our descent, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that into descent mode, which is in and armed, and we can now go in and get our METARs down for lovely Vienna. So Lima Oscar Whiskey, and we'll find out the winds etc. for all of that. So we've got 1016, which is down on the arrival for Vienna. Temperature is 12, winds are 150 at 13. Trans level is going to be for us on the arrival down 10,000 feet. $157 on the V approach. MDA is going to be for us today 797 for a 200-foot decision, which is checked. We're going to take config 3. And we should be all ready for the approach. 159 coming in. If we took 4, would be 157. So we're going to take a config 3. We've got 150 at 13. So we'll take a config 3 just like in the Boeing. We take flaps 30 instead of 40 if there was winds, so it doesn't cause any more disruption in the air for the drag. Currently in descent mode now as we pass through flight level 240. On our way down, the throttle is on descent. Got descent in, which is managed along with the nav. Coming down, we've got 5,000, which is in, which is going to take us down, and the QNHs now are on standard. As we roll through, we've got the terrain on, which is checked, as we're going to ride in, and we can see our next line on the flight plan, flight level 170, which we're then going to hold on for. We'll level off for 170, and then as we move forward, we can then see 156, which is then going to bring us in. So we're going to level off, and then we'll come down to 156 at Tampa. Flying in 310, and we're at 0.7 Mach. As we start to decel the aircraft and get it ready to come in, we can see lovely mountainous areas as we slow through 219 on our descent. Engine anti-ice is on. Down in for the approach, we've got the ILS is coming down, which is the 108.5, so we can check that in on the nav. We've got the 108.5, and we want to be getting in at the Ragan, which is the 112.2. And the courses for that is going to be the 160, which is in and checked. You see we've got the 108.5 for the 160 on the 3-degree glide path, so the 108.5, 160, and we've also got the 3-degree glide path. Now, when you're coming down on your approach, this is a very useful piece of kit to look at. As we can see, our ground speed in knots as we come through, we've got 157, so we'll say we are going to be just about plus 160, let's just say, as we're coming in on flaps 30. For the ILS glide slope, it's 3-degree glide path, as we can see here, 3 degrees on the glide path, and we can see our descent in feet of how far we're going to come down on the descent to stay on profile. So if we're going around 160, we'd say between 850 and 900 feet per minute will keep us down on this approach. If we was hitting between 120 or 140 knots on the ground speed, then it'd be 743 on the descent. And if we was using the localizer descent angle for a 305, then we'd be using a 755. Missed approach point is at 1.3 DME from the Oscar Echo Zulu, which is the localizer. And we've got the Ragamin, which is the 112. We'll be coming down to intercept onto the localizer, and the glide slope is going to hit at 13.8 DME. So it is going to be a long one out. As we start to rise through, we can see our next top of descents as we get ready to rise. as we're currently now in descent mode, rising through. And we can go outside and get a look at the aircraft. So we're now holding in for 17,000 feet. Nurdu, we can see, is the next fix for our arrival. 170 then to 15143. So we're going to be coming down for around 1,000 feet per minute. We're not going to stop on the decel, as the aircraft's got that all managed for us as well, so we can come down at the right rate, etc. We can check all of the hydraulics, see how everything's faring. So we can see all the hydraulics which are in. Lovely to see. We can see the flight controls. We can see the aircraft wherever it's inputting. I don't know if it shows that, or if that's just for the yoke or the joystick, side stick, whatever you want to call it. So on for cruise, we can see for the system total fuel used 82. Oil quantities, they're all okay. Land elevations auto 580. So we'll look and see what the airport elevation is. Airport elevation is 600, so that's fine. Everything else which is set in. You saw the cabin, which looks very nice for us today. So as we now roll through from 170, we're going to get ready to start our next line of decels from 15 as we come all the way through down into a lovely Vienna today. Over on our winds, we said we had our winds were 15013, we're coming in on 160, so that will be a headwind. If we was in a Boeing, then we would divide that by 2, which would then give us a +7 on the VREF, but it's all taken care of for us for the Airbus, which is a nice little feature. Engine anti-ice, and temperature is 3, coming through as we start our descent, ready for 170. You can see the weather's clear, terrain's on, and we're going to go into that right to left turn as we get the aircraft fully configured and ready to come down from 170 down to 5,000. So we're going to be killing off 12,000 on a descent down from Nurdu, and then from Nurdu we're then going to start to slow down on our descent. It's going to be all set and ready for us. We can take it out if we really need to. On the speed, the decel 250 just passing 10,000. So we'll see what the aircraft's going to do. I'm going to let it do everything it needs to, and we'll just keep monitoring the aircraft as we go down onto the descent. So for the auto brake coming down into lovely Vienna today, we can go in for a auto brake number 4. We're going to make that right hand turn now as we pass Nurdu. We're then going to start to get ready to go into that descent. And then we've got the Whiskey 114, so it is pretty much a left to right motion coming round. Landing lights and everything will come on, passing through 10,000 feet. Rummy tails can be off. Everything else is advised. No smoking and seatbelt signs are all on. Cabins to be advised. Whiskey 679 is going to be where we're going to start to descend. So the Whiskey 679, 156 for the 81. So the aircraft's going to start descending at any moment, as we've got 5,000 plugged in on the MCP. So pass through 16,003 now onto that left-hand turn, and we're going to start to decel. We can arm the ground spoilers, which are armed, as we pass through flight level 160. 10,000 we're going to tune in, which is going to be for our trans for 1016, which is going to be tuned. As we pass through 15,007, and we just got flight level 50, which is pre-armed, ready for us to come in, as the aircraft's going to make that left-hand turn as we descend down for 5,000 feet. VORs which are tuned in, we've got the Ragon, which is the Whiskey Golf Mike 11220 for the 160, which we've already got predefined, and in for the NAMs, the Oscar Echo Zulu 108.5, 160 on the final approach of course, and we've got 3-degree glide path which is already in. There's onto the ADFs, on, if we've got any ADFs around, so there's no NDBs to put in on our side, and that should be all fine for us. On for the flight plan now, coming down for 143. As we descend further, passing through 14,004, we've got an auto brake set for number 4, which is going to be checked. As we swing into that left-hand turn, we catch some lovely shadowing effects from the sun as we swing around. 13,008, we're still holding on to our speed of just around near to 300 knots. 159 on the V approach speed, which is going to be a config number 3. Passing through 13,002, 250 in, which will be for 10,000 once we start the descent for 8,002, and then we'll end up for 5,000, where we're then going to start that descent down on the 3-degree glide path, which will then bring us down into a lovely Vienna for runway 16. So we're just tracking now for the Whiskey 677, flight level 121 for 321, and then we're going to start to decel the aircraft down, ready for the arrival. One more final right-hand turn before we swoop into a left. As we get ready and configured, we can bring the control columns over as we swoop into that right-hand turn, ready now for us to intercept. So we can get the landing system, which can go on. That will come to life once we get nearer to the airport. We are currently 23 nautical miles out. Pass now through 10,000 feet, landing lights can go on, runway tunnel flights will come on after we get down, established on the approach. As we're going to slow down for 250 now, to see the aircraft now throttling back, or just hover on its pitch so it can start to maintain down for 250, which is set in on the altitude constraint, which should be 250 under 10,000 feet. 10,000 which is in. Once we do start to make the descent from 10,000 feet, we're then going to switch the Q&H's over once we come down onto that descent profile to then descend further down to about 5,000 feet. Which is going to be where we're going to start the glide slope, which is going to be at 13.8 DME from the localizer, which is the Foxtrot India, or the Foxtrot 116. So we can see the Foxtrot 116 or the Foxtrot 16, which is basically the final approach track or the final approach point, where we're then ready to get ready to come. 250 which is in, there's 10,000, we're not going to start our next descent until we get down. 7,001, which should be there by the time we reach, and then 5,000 all the way down. There's the decel for 250. Once we hit 25, which we're in, the aircraft's going to get ready to make that descent down. 16 is just in view as we come in, and then we're going to roll around. So there we're going to decel, and we need to get down for 7,000 once we get down to the Whiskey 670. So we're just coming down to our slat speed now. We're going to drop down for 204, which we are currently going to track in. So what we can do now is we can get the slats in. Passing through 10,000, landing lights are all on now. Q&H's can go over. 1016, which is checked and cross-checked. Auto brake number 4, which is set. As we come round onto that right hand turn, passing 9,005, 5,000 feet is armed. Passing through 9,001. Pass through 8,003 now as we get ready for that lovely left hand turn, which is then going to intercept us down for the localizer, and we've got 5,000 feet. 13,000 is where we're going to come through, so we'll be waiting for the ILS to come in as we descend now through 8,000 feet. Then once we roll through 7.2 to 5,000, which will then line us up ready for that descent down. Cabin crew can be advised once we do start to come, we've got our ground spoilers which are armed, seatbelt signs are all on and checked. Engine anti-ice we can now get off. Systems are good, everything's normal, which is checked. Recall. So we are cleared now as we start that further descent down. There's our slight retraction as we're going to come down for 5,000 feet. So we can see the localizers in. 5,000 is where we're going to come in as well. So we can get the localizer in as the aircraft's descending for 5,000 feet to try and get in. So I'm not going to open up anything, I'm not going to open up the speed brakes or anything, we're still just rolling in for 240. 5,000 feet is where we're going to go and intercept. We've got the localizer which is armed, and we'll get the glide slope in once we just dip under 5,000 feet. So we're not going to hit that until we get to 13.8 DME. So there's the localizer come in now as we ride through. There's the altitude, so we should lift up now, just on for around 5,000. I'm not going to interfere with the aircraft, I'm just going to let it do what it's got to do. As it then levels off at 5,000 feet, we'll then slow back down for our slight retraction. So I suppose we are still within the limits, but 250 should be below. There's the localizer coming in. And 13.8 is going to be for the glide slope. So may as well get the approach on, as the glide slope can take control, and we'll start going through our flap settings as we configure the aircraft ready to go. So seat belts, no smoking, ground spoilers are armed and checked. Coming in on the next part of the approach checklist, we've got the ILS frequency, which is the 108.5, which we can check on the navs at 108.5, which is the 160 final approach course for the 3-degree glide path, which you can set, check and confirm. After that, we're coming in on the perf, which is going to give us a 159 for flaps config 3, and we're coming in on a 797 MDA for a 200-foot decision. Currently coming down on the glide slope now, 4,003. Don't need to slow the aircraft down too much just yet. As we're passing through on for our slats, 3,000 feet, passing just for 4,000. So as the aircraft slowly starts to come down, we can go into our flaps 2. We'll do that when we get a little bit near. We're still 10 nautical miles, so I'm not going to start slowing the aircraft down too quickly. We'll leave until we get around to about 7 nautical miles or so, and then we'll configure down for our gear down by 5. QNH 1016, which is check and cross checked. We've got the water brake, which is set for number 4, which is checked, and we've got our minimums, like I say, for a 200-foot decision. So we're on our number 1 setting, which is for a slats, which is for 220. Going to go into a flaps 2. As you can see, over speed in 225. The aircraft will start to slow down now, and then we can start to make a move on the descent phase, as I want to get the aircraft fully configured to come down, and I don't want to be messing about too much. So we can drop the gear down as well. That will give us just that little bit more drag. 2,500 feet, which is checked. As we slowly make that approach, we can get ready to come in.
2000.
2000 checked. Cabin can be called. Cabin is ready. We're going to go down into our flaps 3. Okay, flaps 3, which is in. So, landing checklist is complete. We are fully configured. Runway tunnel flights can now come on. Nose can go on. Get that on after. And we are now ready to come in, guys. So what we can do is we can disengage the autopilot. And now I have control of the aircraft. So just maintain our descent, wait for the glide slope to come back. We're looking for around about 700 to 800 feet per minute. So we'll try and stay within that region and try not to swoop too low. 1000 checked. Staying for around 800 feet per minute. See, it's getting a little bit windy. Still follow it down, 2 red, 2 white.
500.
500.
400.
100 above.
300.
Minimum.
Continue.
200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20.
Retard.
10.
5.
Okay, speed brakes are up. And reversers are active. Full pressure on the column. Reversers can be stowed. And all the brake can be disarmed 60 knots as we get ready to go off of the high-speed taxiway. So as we now get ready to pull off onto that right-hand turn, we can get our ground spoilers, which can be disarmed and checked. Flaps can be fully retracted back into their 0 position. As we now roll off onto that right-hand turn, and we're going to get ready to now proceed up to the gate, guys. So as we start to slow the aircraft down, we can get ready to make that right-hand turn over onto a lovely Vienna stand. So passing over the hold line, we can get the runway turn-offs off, strobes can go off, we can get the navs, taxis can go on the nose, landing lights can also go off, and we are fully ready now to make that turn into stand. So we're going to make this right hand turn. And then what we'll do, guys, is we'll go into our landing cinematics. And you guys can see the outside of this lovely Airbus A340. Out of all the Lufthansa liveries, I have to say that this one is my favourite Lufthansa livery, even from the new style Lufthansa livery. This will always be my favourite one because it's just, it's a lovely livery. It has the gunmetal grey colouring underneath the body of the fuselage, and then you've got that lovely white coat, and then the blue Lufthansa. It just makes it, you know, it's not too modern, it's just right. So there we are, guys. We can now get the APU started up. So the master APU switch is on. That will say available, and we should be able to then turn it on, which will come on in just a few moments time once it is ready and set to go. So we can get the APU now, which will go on as that gets itself all boosted up, and we can now turn that on and checked. So I'm going to leave you now with the landing cinematics, guys. Thanks for watching tonight. Really appreciate your support, and I hope to see you again on many more of the flights to come. So here's the lovely landing cinematics for Vienna for runway 16 on the ILS approach for the Airbus A340-600 in Lufthansa. So I'll see you guys very soon. Stay safe. Bye-bye.